Today it's my great pleasure to welcome Bruno Dominguez to the Optimistic Entrepreneur podcast. Bruno, I came across through Facebook and came to discover that he's got some very interesting insights into how to work with Facebook and Facebook groups. And so I thought it would be a fantastic opportunity to understand a little bit about his approach, because if you're an optimistic entrepreneur, and if you're listening to this, then you should be, then what you're going to get from Bruno will really help you in terms of your lead generation and finding new clients. So, Bruno, a very warm welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, John. It's very good to be here.
Let's kick off, as ever, by finding out a little bit more about who you are and what you do. Perhaps just give us a little bit of your story and how it is you came to be, this LinkedIn groups expert.
Not LinkedIn, Facebook groups.
Sorry, just testing. You are paying attention, so yeah. Facebook group. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of LinkedIn today, and I've got LinkedIn on the brain. So Facebook groups, absolutely.
Yeah, Facebook groups, I discovered them in August last year. So before then, I had never been in a Facebook group. So I've been a marketer since 2004. That's when I started my company. So I'm doing mostly paid ads, like Google ads, Facebook ads, but not really Facebook groups. And when I discovered it, I found that after the first month, I started engaging with people on the groups, and people came to me asking about what I did, and I ended up getting clients that way without expecting it. It was very surprising for me at the time. And then I realized there was like all these potential clients laying around in all these different groups, and I could just go engage them and generate leads, or they would just attract them to come and talk with me. And I was so amazed that it worked well that I started a Google Sheet where I kept track of everything that I was doing and just, CRM it. Basically built like a little Google Sheet for CRMing on the Facebook groups, which groups did I get the leads, what kind of posts were getting most engagement. I did all that kind of study. And on the first month, I got about 10,000 in sales just from the groups I was participating. And on the second month, I was really like on beast mode. So I just went really, that's when I had already the Google Sheet ready, and I was CRMing and following up on everyone. And I was really hitting it hard. And I spent like all day long, working on the groups, and I got it to slightly over 100,000 in sales in that month. It was crazy. And it was like, yeah.
But, to be clear, what are you selling?
At the time, I was offering, first of all, I was trying to understand what my offer should be on the Facebook groups. So what I did before I started the groups was I was doing website development. I was doing Google Ads setup and management, so advertising campaigns. And it was mostly for service providers, coaches, and consultants. And I was mainly selling that, but I thought, let me just be open-minded and find out what people need in Facebook groups. But turned out that the offer I actually sold the most was a Google Ads campaign setup, because that's what I had that I could do. There were a few people who asked me for Facebook ads at the time, but I didn't feel I was yet experienced enough to offer that, so I didn't take those leads. But I took the ones on Google, so I got really good results out of that. Yeah,
very interesting. Okay, so you've discovered that Facebook groups have got this potential for you. Now you've put together a program, and what I'm very interested in is to understand the structure of your program. I know it's in 6 points, which I love because I'm the 6-minute strategist, and I love doing things in sixes because you can make nice hexagons out of them, and I like hexagons. So perhaps we just have a quick overview before we dive in deeper as to how your approach breaks down.
Yeah, the approach starts with a bit of mindset, understanding the mindset behind the groups, the strategies, the goals of the person who created the group, who the admins are, what their offers are, what the overall goal of the group is, like the tone of the group, let's say, and the kind of mindset there is behind the owners of the group. And with that information, then you understand what's going on, what kind of members there are in the group, what kind of people the owners are and the admins are, and you can then tailor your messages appropriately for that specific group to make sure that you're within the tone of the group and that your messages aren't conflicting with anyone who's in charge, let's say. Because if there's an admin selling, let's say, I don't know, business coaching, and you go there and you start talking about your business coaching, you might get banned because they might not like it. So you need to approach it in a different perspective and attract people.
Okay, so that's the mindset.
Yeah.
Step 2?
And just part of the mindset, there's one very interesting thing that I found out right on the beginning is a lot of people think like when you go on Facebook groups and you're going to go and poach clients from other people and all that. But the fact is that's not how it works in Facebook groups, because once they grow over a few thousand members, there's no way the group owners can control, and it's pretty much a free market. So people do what they want to do. And as long as you don't break the group rules, I mean, you can do whatever you want, as long as you provide value to the audience. And this is what I found that was really valuable, that there's no, I mean, competitors work together, they do joint ventures. I mean, it's really a cooperation spirit in the groups rather than a competition spirit. And I love that part. But some people avoid trying because they're scared that they're going to go and sound like they're selling or pitching. Yeah. So it's interesting.
I mean, I find that approach very interesting because one of the things I found, particularly with Udemy courses, is that there are a stack of groups out there where people encourage you to go and promote your Udemy courses. And they're filled with people promoting their Udemy courses. There's nobody in them buying the Udemy courses.
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah.
There's just lots of people posting, coupons or free coupons to Udemy courses. And in fact, if they're free, then what people tend to do is to go in, pinch the coupon codes, and then go and basically spread them, across the net on places like Black Hat Forum and places like that. So you get a sway of people who are from who knows where. So it's and in fact I've got a group where I'm trying to help people with online courses, and what I've been finding, because I haven't actually been administering it very well the last couple of months, is it's now stuffed full of people just advertising their groups, their courses. That's not good. And I've just put a post up yesterday. I said, why are you doing this? This group is full of instructors. There's nobody who's going to buy your course. Don't do it. And in fact, I've started to ban people because it's just a waste of time, and it's just getting swamped with people sticking. It's just another place to stick out, rubbish promotions. Yeah. So I completely get that. That makes a lot of sense. Let's move on. What's the next step?
So first step is the mindset, and the second one is finding the right groups for you to participate in. So just like you said, there's a lot of groups full of garbage, like people just post these promotions, and some of them are really low quality. When you join them and you look at what's posted, is mostly people promoting their own stuff or random chats or really low quality stuff. And finding the right group for you to participate in is really critical, because that's where you're going to generate your leads. And if you're in a group that's not good for that, it's not going to work. So
what are some of the criteria you use for identifying? Clearly, a big group is important.
Yeah.
As a starting point. Clearly, a group that's likely to be filled. So if you're selling Google ads, I'm guessing people who are doing online marketing would be the sorts of people you would want to attract.
Oh, no. No, it's actually end businesses, so it would go mostly for coaches and service providers.
Okay.
So I have clients ranging from different industries, from I have a client who does sod laying, sod installation, and lawn care. I mean, those are services, but they're very good to advertise, and you can get a really good deal. He made over $10,000 in profit out of it, so it's like pretty good. But you have others like coaching. I mean, usually solutions that you can provide. It depending if you're advertising on Google is a different targeting method, on Facebook is a different one. So Facebook is like you profile people and you pass a message based on the profile, such as you want to pass a message to all accountants, for example, and special packages for accountants. You can do that on Facebook, but you can't do that on Google because Google doesn't have that type of information. So it's just different targetings.
Mm-hmm. So how can you describe in a little bit more detail then how you go about identifying good groups and bad groups?
Once you join the group, then you look through the posts, and now I already know very well how to do it. So I just go through and I can spot like the leads straight away, because there are specific posts on the group normally asking what do people do and where they're talking about their own business. So once you see what they do, you already know if they're a potential client or not, right? So if you see someone saying, let's say I'm a health coach, okay, you know that, and you work with health coaches, you already know that person is a potential client for you. Or if it's someone who has a business and is having problems with their organization, let's say, which is probably something you help with on business coaching, they would say something like, I have maybe, let's say, what would it be? I have what kind of business? Give me an example.
Right. Gosh. No, you caught me on the hop. I was listening to you. What would it be? I mean, it could be a software business.
Okay, you have a software business. They're having a lot of issues with organizing all their day-to-day and keeping track of all the tasks they have to do and increasing their productivity. So have productivity problems. They're going to post something like, we're a software company. We develop this type of software for clients, custom software, or maybe integrations with some specific software. And we're interested in having some help with the organization. Or right now, our biggest challenge is increasing our productivity, for example. And this is something people actually post in groups. And from that, you would read it and say, okay, this is a software development company who are having productivity problems. And that's potentially a good lead for you. So you go there and you engage them on that. And but on this part of qualifying the group, you're basically just going into the groups and spotting these different leads. And based on how many you find, you know if it's a good group or not. Because if you go there, you look around, you find nothing, then you already know it's not good.
So can you do searches on things like the words biggest challenge, or do you just have to scroll through the posts and have a look?
You can either scroll through or you could then do a search. You can do both. So it's up to you. Yeah. So there's ways. If the group is really, really large, you can do a search. And I have that on the program, like which specific keywords to use for the search. And scrolling down is usually the best idea because it doesn't take you long to find out about maybe, 5 minutes scrolling, and you already know more or less what kind of group it is.
And what's the minimum size, would you say? 5,000 members, 10,000 members?
Normally it depends on how niched it is and how good quality it is. Mm-hmm. So if you have a really high quality group, maybe about 2,000 members would be okay. But generally, ideally, 5,000 plus, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's finding the right group. Then what do we do?
So now we found the group, then you go into qualification mode. So you go qualify that group. You join about 2 or 3 different groups, which seem to be the best ones, and then you qualify those 3. You don't join 20 or 50, like a lot of people do that. They just join 100 groups or 50 groups and think, I'm going to get leads from all of these, and they get nothing from nowhere. Because you can't possibly become an authority in all those groups at the same time. Even in one is hard to do sometimes. So you're going to go into about 3 groups and qualify them, make sure that those are the right groups to participate in. So it takes about maybe 2-3 days to start engaging, see what kind of responses, how often do people post or comment, how fast the comments are. Usually you can tell how fast the engagement is. So if people reply pretty quickly within minutes or within half an hour, if there's only one post a day or one post in every 2 days, then it's not a very active group. So those are things that you use.
Is there any way of I mean, this is my ignorance of Facebook. Is there any way of telling from the outside how many active people there are in a group? Because you might see there's 2,000 people. You can't see how many conversations.
No, you can't. You can't see anything that's going inside the group. You can see the list of members and the group rules, and that's it.
Right. So you can't tell how they're doing. Okay, so you have to get stuck into a very small number of reasonable sized groups and start looking for people who look like they might be your sort of customer.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the one thing you don't do is say, hey, I've got something to sell you.
No, nothing like that. No, no. That's actually that's how you get banned. It's a very good way to get banned. I should do some kind of viral video, 100 ways to get banned from a group, something like that.
Yeah, that would be
good. So it's you should never say PM me or call me or check my website or post a link. Sometimes there are designated posts where you can do that. It's called a promotional post. And the admin usually says what days there are promotional posts. Sometimes it's on a Friday or on Sundays. There's a promo Sunday or promo Friday. And you can do it only on a designated post as a comment. You can't actually post your own posts. So on those, it's okay. But as you can imagine, everyone promotes and nobody goes check anything from anyone usually. So you do get 1 or 2 people might check your stuff, usually about 1 or 2 depending on how big the group is and how interesting you make your post. But generally it gets lost in all the comments, so they won't even see it.
So what's the right approach?
So the right approach is to engage them like you would engage them in a normal conversation. Let's say if you do business networking, for example, and you meet someone on a business networking event, you don't go to them and say, hey, do you want to buy my service, right?
Right.
You need to start with the report. You start with the report, right? So you start by talking with them and finding out a bit more about them. What is their, what are they doing there? What are they looking for, or if they need help with something. But when you're posting and someone says, it depends on what kind of post. But if they say, my business is about, it's a software company, then you can ask, what type of software do you develop? What kind of clients do you work with? Asking questions like those are engagement questions, and you're not talking about yourself, so you're putting the spotlight on them. And what happens is people really want to talk about them, not really about you. So that's really the best approach, because nobody's going to not reply to you. If you ask about them, they'll always reply, and that's...
Yes, my mother used to say this of people at dinner parties, that going to dinner parties was the easiest thing in the world, because it didn't matter who you sat next to. All you do is just ask people to talk about themselves, and they'll do that all night. And I guess it's exactly the same online.
And when you're in sales, if you're a bad salesman, you're going to pitch. You're going to try and chase them and convince them to buy. But if you're a really good salesman, you let them talk.
Yeah.
Because the customer wants to be listened to.
That's a really good customer wants to be listened to. Yeah. So how do you, because as I understand it, you're evolving from being just somebody who's engaging. You're trying to become a really valuable member of the group because you want to attract the attention of the admin, presumably. Is that how you're evolving it?
The goal is it works like this. Right now, Facebook even has a tool called the top contributors. So this is a new feature that just launched a month ago or so. And now you're actually shows a little thing next to your name saying top contributor, just like it says admin as well if you're an admin. So now it actually makes it even easier for them to spot you if you're a top contributor. But on the group insights, you can actually see who are the main members engaging, who are the most active members. And what happens is when you have a group with, let's say, 2,000, 5,000 people, 10,000 people, you need people who are going to help you with posting as well, because if you're the only one posting, it's a lot of work. You have to take time to build posts, write your posts, and it's time consuming to do it. And if you have no one else posting besides you, it's going to be hard. So you want to have the right people and encourage them to post as well about topics that are relevant to the audience. And the key there is provide value to the audience. So make sure that the audience gets value. And that's the general rule. And as long as you do that in any group you go to, you'll start getting noticed because people will appreciate the value you deliver. The members will appreciate it. The admin will start to notice that you're helping him basically with engagement. So you're basically supporting his group and helping him keep the group active. And that's really one of the biggest challenges groups have. And the other is providing value to the members and not pitching. So what happens with that is the admins will start noticing that you exist. That's the first. Second is they'll know that you're not promoting anything. So you're automatically excluded from the spammer list, let's say, or potential spammer list. And he'll know that you are a sensible guy, you know what to do, and you're giving value to his group. When you post an offer, you're going to go and support his offer as well and say, hey, sounds really awesome program. I checked it. Looks amazing, blah, blah, blah. So you support the offer as well. You help them promote their own stuff. And that really gives you a lot of authority inside the group. So if you go there and you start talking about yourself, people will see that as a self-promotion, and they don't really like that as much. It's okay to do some report. For example, in one of the posts we had, the group admin, he posted about something about clothing or something like that. I don't remember. And I just posted they're my favorite brands for clothing, for business clothing. And Ted Baker was one of them, was my favorite was Ted Baker. And turns out that his favorite was also Ted Baker. So I posted some photos of the shirts I had from Ted Baker, and the conversation started from there. So that's a normal social casual conversation about the regular stuff, and it's nothing to do with promotion or business, but it's building relationships with people, and that's pretty much it.
And how long does this phase take? Clearly you're in the group for the long term, because you want to keep developing relationships with more and more people. And once you've invested that time into the group, then it's worth staying in there and continuing to be an authority there. But that initial phase from first joining the group to getting to a point where, you've got trust and authority, getting up that curve, what's your...
Usually about 2, 3 months, 4 months, depends on how active you are. That's why if you do only 2 or 3 groups, you're able to build authority much quicker than if you try and go do it in 10 groups, because you just can't do it in 10. It's too many. And I was a member on Entrepreneur Lifestyle Group for a few months, and I got promoted to admin after about 5 months, or August, September, October, November, December, about 4 months. So it took me about 4 months, more or less, to become an admin in the group. So now I'm the official go-to person on one of my offers, and that's awesome.
Okay, so how does that? Now you've gone from being an admin, but you're a go-to person for an offer. I don't understand that.
No, I wasn't an admin there. I was just a normal member.
Yeah.
So now I'm an admin and a go-to person for one offer. What happens is when you have a group that's really large, like this one, which has 82,000 members,
right?
You need other admins to also support the group, right? Yeah. And you want to pick admins that have non-conflicting offers, and each one only can do one single offer. So it's a bit like business networking. Usually you have a room with people, but none of them is competing with each other, right?
Got you. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. So within that group then, that each of the admins, just so I'm understanding this, has an offer.
Yeah, has a different offer, yes.
And how do the members know which admin has which offer?
Well, usually you post, right? I mean, I can just go and post whatever I want.
Oh, okay. So now, because you're an admin and you're an authority in the group, now you can talk about your offers.
Of course,
that's the transition, the difference.
Yeah. Now I can actually directly just post about my offer. I don't have any problems of spamming because it doesn't apply to admins. And of course, I also need to be sensible about making sure whatever I post is going to not be like spammy or something that the audience doesn't like. Yeah. So we have to still keep some common sense in that.
And do you do a deal with the guy who owns the group?
No, there's no deal.
There's no deal because again, some I've heard in the past of people, doing joint ventures with group admins where you put an offer for something that's relevant to the members of the group into the group, and then anybody who picks it up, you split the proceeds with the admin. But this is more sophisticated than that.
Don't have that. No, don't have that.
Okay.
I think it would cause problems because people would eventually know. If you have like 5 or 6 or 7 admins already on the group, I mean, eventually people would know you're making money out of that, and that doesn't fall very well within the audience. Yeah. And normally you are actually required to say if someone is making money.
Yeah. No. I mean, whenever you've got an affiliate link or anything like that, you should always disclose it because it's. I think it's against the US law not to do it anyway. So
that's correct.
You've got to be very careful.
It would be misleading to do it. Yeah.
So you've been kind enough to mention one group, but don't mention any others. But how many Facebook groups are you actually a member of? I mean, not necessarily using this strategy, but I mean, I've got, I don't know, dozens of Facebook groups, and now I'm sitting here feeling that I should be actually just ditching most of them. Is that the right thing to do?
When I was doing it's like this, I'm in a few more groups for different reasons. Mm-hmm. So, and I only participate in about 2 or 3 groups. The others are there in my lists of groups I'm joining, but I don't actually participate. But I can at some point go and take a look and do a post. It works like this. Every group has a different purpose. So I'm, for example, in a group called Sales Talk with Sales Professionals, which if I want something related with sales, I can go on that group and like post something or a comment there or participate in there if there's something relevant to that specific area. But otherwise, I don't go there and do anything. I'm just a member right now, but I don't follow it. But right. If for example, when I start building my sales team, then I'll want to go there and start participating a bit more on the group and get a bit of feedback from them about building a sales team. I mean, because it's relevant. Mm-hmm. But right now, I don't see anything relevant that I could post that would contribute to them with value, unless I want to talk about sales on Facebook groups.
Well, that's true. Okay, so that's number 3, which is a qualification. So you've now been engaging with these people in the group. Where do we go from there?
Okay, once you're qualified them, then you stick with that group and you start then engaging and building your authority and getting your first clients through as well. And you just keep doing that. Basically, it's a process you do. And you build your CRM as well. So on the training, we have the next module, which is how you engage once people come to you. So how to use attraction rather than pitching. So you let people come to you rather than you go to them. And there's a few parts about that. And also, what do you do when someone comes on chat with you for the first time? So that's one thing that a lot of people have trouble with. And I found some really funny ones, like someone comes on chat with you for the first time and you start talking about yourself. And you're like, oh, I do this, I do that. Maybe it's something you're interested, and that's like kills it straight away. They'll either stop responding or you're pitching them already. And a lot of people do that. They just start a conversation with, oh, I do this. Maybe you're interested. And once you ask, maybe you're interested, the conversation is dead straight away.
So I'm guessing it's the other way around. It's, so tell me about what your business is. What are your challenges? What are your problems? And
it's more like build a bit of relationship with the person first, find out what they're up to, and know a bit more about them as a person. Because what I notice is when you go and just go through business without building any rapport at all. There was a guy who came and engaged me, and he said, so his first question was, what are the goals in your business? That was his question. What are your current goals in your business? That was his first question. I never met the guy from anywhere. It just starts with that. And like, what the hell? The guy just asked me this like out of nowhere. It's like, I don't know him from anywhere. I could tell straight away it was a pitch. And he got trained to say that because it's very specific. I don't imagine him doing that naturally. So it had to be a training somewhere. Someone told him you should approach people and ask this. And I'm sure it works more or less, but it's still a pitch. And so it started with that. And then once I said, there's a lot of different things I'm doing. I mean, this is not specific enough for an answer. And then I checked his profile, so I knew he was like a health coaching. And then his next question, imagine what it is.
Do you suffer from headaches? I mean, something about your health, presumably.
Yeah. How's your health goals?
Okay, more
your
goals.
Fitness goals or something. And then I was like, okay, it's really obvious, At that point, I was like, oh my god, you couldn't even be more obvious, Like you start the first question is like in disguise, just not to be obvious, and the second one then is the actual question that you wanted to ask in the first place.
Yeah.
And it was like so funny. I just didn't bother replying, but it was funny.
and this is all using Facebook chat.
Yeah, Facebook
chat. So you're just literally picking up on Facebook chat and just talking to people.
Yeah, I did most of all the sales I did was mostly on Facebook chat for the first about 10 months. I did everything on Facebook chat. There were a few cases where people were on the chat and they asked, can we go on the call just so I know who I'm buying from and hear your voice. So I had just a few who asked for that. Others wanted to jump on the call to do the whole thing. So they started on a chat and say, let's book a call and talk there. So you get all kinds of stuff. But generally, I don't have a rule. So it's like I start on a chat and whatever they feel more comfortable with, that's what we do. I don't I don't force them to do what I want. Like it's up to what they feel more comfortable with.
And do you have to friend people in order to chat with them? Or if you're in the group and you're both group members, you can chat?
You can chat with anyone on Facebook, but if it's someone who's not your friend on your friend list, then it goes into other messages. So you have to check other messages often, because I used to get a lot of those. And if I didn't check, I wouldn't know they were there. So I checked them like daily when I was doing that. Now I think we get a notification. At the time, Facebook didn't notify if there was like other messages. But I think now they do it.
Got you. Okay. All right. So what can you tell me about how you develop this relationship? I mean, you're obviously you're trying to get to know them, trying to understand, what they're doing, what football team they support at a very anal, what's, I mean, okay, we'll keep off football because Portugal's rather too good at football. But what, where do you take the conversation?
It depends on the person. I mean, there's no rule really. I mean, it's more about finding out what each one is up to and meeting people. And it's very interesting to meet them. Like some have a podcast, others don't have a podcast. I only started to listen to a podcast, I think was this month. It was the first time ever. I had never listened to a podcast before. And the first one I listened was from Alex Sharfen. It was actually really good.
Who was it, Alex?
Alex Sharfen. Charfen.
Okay.
It's called the Entrepreneurial Personality Type, and it's really awesome.
Entrepreneurial personality type. See, now you've mentioned it, I'm going to have to put a link into the show notes because people will want to go and find out more about it. So great for the plug, and thank you for the shout out.
Has massive value. Value.
No, I love podcasts. I'm completely addicted to them. So I'll definitely put a link to that in the show notes, and I'm definitely going to go and have a look at it and probably subscribe to it and listen to some editions because I love listening to podcasts. So thanks for that recommendation. But you do have a goal to get them to the next step, and maybe we're going on to the next phase of your program. I don't know, but what is that? Where are you trying to get to with them, as opposed to get them to?
Is get them to have a repeatable process they can use every day or every week, and they can just process of what's going on and who are potentially a client, and not lose track of that. Because once you talk with a few hundred people, you start having a bit of trouble controlling who did you talk with, about what, and what was the status of the conversation. Were they interested in more information, but maybe they want to talk later? Maybe they want to talk in a specific time. The client I spoke with, he didn't become a client right away, and he loved the ideas. I was talking with him about his business. He told me how his situation, and I spoke with him. It was last year, and he told me all about his business, where he wanted to be, his ideas, and all that. And I said, "Oh, you could do this and that and that." So I helped him get a clear idea, and he loved the concepts I gave him. And but he couldn't afford to invest any money at the time, so we left it at that. And about 3 or 4 months later, he just showed up with $6,000 and said, "Oh, here's the money. Let's go."
Brilliant. And so you're running a CRM system to keep track of who you speak to, what you speak about, when you spoke to them, which groups they're in.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. So you do have I love spreadsheets and I love structure. So I completely get all that, because in my corporate finance business, if I'm on a project, every time I do a call, I have a call list, and I make a note of, who I spoke to, which company they're from, their phone number, their email, what they talk about, any future action, and so I actually can go back to people and say, we last spoke 17 years ago on this project, because this list is now 15,000, calls or whatever it is. It's literally thousands and thousands of calls, but I can search on it very easily. So I can search on somebody's name and say, "Yes, well, I can remember when you were in such and such a firm, and we spoke about this on the 17th of April in 2004." And they'll be sitting saying, "What?" I said, "Don't worry." I said, "I've got it on a spreadsheet."
That's very powerful, because when people see that you really know what you're doing, they actually admire that. I had someone who came on my Facebook group. When he joined, I already knew a lot of stuff about him. And the first reply he had to me was, "Whoa, you're good."
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's a really good first impression. When someone says that as a first reply to you, that's a really good impression.
Yeah.
Because you did your homework, you took the time to check them out, which most people don't. So that's the problem. Most people just don't bother. They don't take the time. And it doesn't take long, because once you get used to it, it takes maybe 20, 30 seconds to do it. And it totally makes the whole difference in terms of gaining the trust of someone, that you actually take time to check their stuff. And it applies a bit of that principle of giving back. So once you check their stuff and you spend some time to get to know them, they will also want to do the same for you. And it's automatic. So by giving, you're also getting something back. Not always, but the principle is that. So that's why usually givers are the ones who are more successful in this approach.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to get you to the next phase, so I understand what's happening next. But at the moment, we're engaging with these people and possibly getting onto chat with them, maybe getting onto a call with them and talking to them about who they are, what they're doing, what their challenges are, what they're interested in, having a very much a personal discussion relationship. But where is your next step in this process? Where are you trying to get to with them, so that you can take them on to the next step?
So the step there is to get them to their sales goal, doing all the things. We have our own custom built CRM where the leads are inserted in, so they can manage their own leads. And it also has a Facebook group module with a list of groups, and they can favorite the groups they want. And then they can add leads on that group, so they know where the leads are from, on which group they are from. We have also a post tracking to know how many leads you got from each post or each comment. And you can look at all that information, and that maximizes your effectiveness. Then you know what kind of posts got you the most engagement, got you the most leads, and which ones got you sales. And with that information, you can improve massively over time, which is something most people, I think maybe 99% of people, 99.9 probably, don't do that. They don't track anything. They just randomly post and talk, and they have no clue where they get their sales from. They might have a small idea, but if I ask, okay, can you tell me exactly which post did that customer come from? They don't know. They probably don't even know which group they came from.
So does your CRM system pick this up automatically with an API, or do people have to put that in?
No, there's no API that can do it. So people just add the lead onto the system, a bit like you do with Salesforce or with HubSpot. You just add the lead into the system as a new lead, and you say, okay, this is from a Facebook group, and it's from this specific group, and you put whatever information you want, and that's it. You save it, and once it's there, it goes into the pipeline. And the pipeline looks a bit like Salesforce has that, the columns, 5-column pipeline. So it's similar to that. Then there's also a list mode with a list of leads. And it's extremely useful, very good.
Yeah, sounds very comprehensive. So you've now got, I'm going back to you having the conversation with the person in terms of the process you're running. And obviously the people you take through your program are trying to do this in parallel with their customer bases.
Yeah.
So you, I still don't have in my mind, and this is probably me being really stupid, but where do you go from this engaged conversation? What are you trying to get to?
The conversation takes a life of its own, basically.
Yeah.
You ask the right questions, people tell you what their current needs are, so you end up knowing what their biggest challenges are, their needs are, and then either you can help them or you can't. And basically that's the conclusion of the conversation. Either you can help them or you can't. And at some point in the conversation, they're going to ask you about yourself. So they'll eventually end up asking you. And sometimes they ask right on the beginning, sometimes they ask in the middle, sometimes they ask more in the end, but eventually it happens. So you don't actually need to start talking about yourself. You can just let them, when they're done talking about themselves, they can ask you, what about you? What do you do? So that's basically the approach.
So eventually you just give them enough rope and eventually they'll hang themselves. Eventually they'll come back to you.
Not exactly, because you're meeting, you're meeting people, and you don't know if they need something that you can help with. I mean, since you don't know that, it's not like you're selling or something, because you don't even know if they're the type of customer you can help. So it's not really a pitch or anything. So all you want to do is meet people. I mean, I met people who I ended up hiring as suppliers because they actually had something I wanted. I mean, it works both ways. It's not just one way.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So I hired a person, for example, to book me on interviews on big podcasts, like well-known podcasts. One for setting me up on events, booking me on speaking engagements. So I'm starting that out now. I hired a photographer to do a photo shoot, and he just sent me the photos today. So I'm quite excited to put those photos on. So, I mean, you find people to help you with all kind of stuff that you need, as well as people who need what you have to offer. And that's basically the whole spirit behind the Facebook groups. It's about solving problems, and it goes both ways.
And when I was taking your webinar, which actually I found very interesting, can we put a link to the webinar in the show notes?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. So if I get a link to the webinar, but I found that a very helpful, because what you do in the webinar is you actually talk through this process in a more structured way than we're doing, because we're obviously just having a conversation. But what I found very interesting at the end of the webinar is you basically offer people the chance to book a call with you, and then almost the next sentence you say, but there's going to be no pitching, no sales, no pricing, and it's very much in the spirit of what we've been talking about. But I was slightly surprised by how very upfront you were, that saying, and I guess it's taking all the threat and the risk out of it for the person you're speaking to.
Yeah.
But in a sense, that's because you're doing the webinar. But in a sense, if you're having this conversation with people, I guess you're already not doing that anyway. Is that right? You're not talking about prices. You're not pitching anything. You're just waiting and talking to them and finding out enough about them, and almost really just waiting for them to turn around and ask you what you do, and at some point then they'll ask whether you can help them.
Yeah, usually they go on a webinar and they only book a call if they feel that there might be potential that the offer can help them. But until they actually have enough information and we talk, and they come to the realization that what the offer is exactly and how can it get them to their goals, or if it can get them to their goals, if it's the right thing for them. Until they get to that realization, I mean, there's no way you could sell something, because people have to feel it's the right thing for them. And if it's not, it will be very obvious as well, because they'll be like, I'm not so sure this is the right for me and all that. So I'm like, I don't want to like force people something that it works like this. If I were to sell or to enroll someone in the program who doesn't believe the program is right for them, they're not going to do the work. And that's really counterproductive. I have no interest in having clients who's not going to follow instructions. And because they won't get results, I mean, there's no point, it's just a waste of time. I mean, sure, it's good to get some money, but then I won't get positive reviews. I'll probably even get negative. Well, I don't get negative because I'll be pushing them to do it, but still, I mean, there's no point.
And the other side of that coin as well is that the people who don't pay for something don't value it. I mean, I find this with my clients, that if I accept it, and I don't, if I accept a piece of work on a contingent basis, so that I'll only get paid. I'm talking now about a piece of investment banking business where it's like we're doing an acquisition or I'm helping to raise money. If I just do it and I only get paid if they make the acquisition, then through that process they're not paying me anything. They don't value me.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's much more likely actually the whole thing will not work and will break down because they won't focus on it, they won't concentrate on it, and inevitably they will mess it up one way or the other. And that's been my experience. But I guess that's the same with you.
True.
That unless people are prepared to make a commitment, and there's no commitment like a financial commitment for making people focus, then you'll never get a result.
That's true. It's very hard to get a result when something is free because you don't take it serious. And that's how it works. I mean, they're just not going to show up and do the work. If they don't have, like, if it doesn't hurt them, like in the pocket, if they think, oh, it was really cheap, and they just procrastinate and don't do it and slack and just move on to the next shiny object. There's this shiny object syndrome a lot of people have. So they move on to the next shiny thing. But if they invested the proper amount, like $4,000 or more, I mean, they're not going to just let it go, They're going to do the work and take it serious. And that's really, because if you're selling something really cheap, you're actually doing a disservice to them, because they're less likely to get results because they're not going to put the work. So they're already setting themselves for failure. You're setting them for failure as well by selling them too cheap. They're not going to do it, or they're going to slack at it, and that's not going to help you or them. There's no point. So
how does your program work? I mean, I've got a lot of online courses, and actually I quite deliberately give away about 80% of them. I give away a lot of free coupons on some of my courses. On some courses, I never give away anything. But on some of my courses, I've got over 30 of them, so there's plenty to choose from. I deliberately make free coupons widely available because I actually want people who can't afford to buy the courses to have them. And so I'm very happy to have 1,000 people joining up, and I'll never get a penny from them. I know that I will never get a penny from them. And most of these people are not in Europe, and they're not in America. I'm not in any way being, rude about countries which are, still coming up, the developing, but inevitably the cost of living or the standard of living, and I've got a very good relationship with a young chap in Bangladesh who's I've got to know over the last, he's in Pakistan over the last, 2 or 3 years. And he first approached me to be a student, but said he didn't have any money. So I actually, gave him what he wanted to help him get started. And he's been very successful since. But I think that's one side of it. But that's a completely, a handoff. There's an online course. Off you go. You can do it or not do it. It's entirely up to you. But it doesn't require any of my time.
That's information, yeah.
Yeah. So how does your program work? Because I sense it's got more involvement from you, or maybe you've got a team of people supporting you.
Yeah, it's a one-on-one support and group support, so it's not like an information program. And I had someone recently ask, like, how can I just do like just the video modules and without support and get a cheaper price and all that? I was like, I mean, there's no way you're gonna get successful just doing the video modules, because I mean, sure, there's plenty of information you can act on, but I mean, you want to know how to do it exactly for your specific business, and there's no way the video mods are going to do that for you. Like, know exactly what to post on a specific circumstance that it's not on the video. How the hell do you know? You don't know if you don't have support. So that's why it's transformation versus information. That's the basis of it. Like, when you have someone who's going to check and make sure you're doing everything right, you have how do you call it? You have someone you're accountable.
Accountability.
Accountability. And without accountability, people just don't do it, or they just slack. And if they have someone asking, okay, how are you doing? How's things going? Have you done this? I see you already finished this. Do you need any help with anything? And you have that. We have also private mastermind group just for clients, and they can share their successes and failures and tests and post whatever they want. And there's also a good way to share information and share what worked and what didn't work, screenshots, etc. Stuff that you can't share on public stuff places. So yeah, it's a lot to do with the support, and that's why usually you can't do that if you have a freebie or a cheap course. I mean, there's no way you can provide support for a lot of people. It's very hard.
So how many people can you provide support for at one time?
Well, I can do the group one, and it's scalable, which means if I have a lot of work, or I would have, like, say, 100 or 200 clients going through the program at the same time, then I would have to hire someone to help me, obviously. But right now, I have no problem handling it, because people work at different times of the day. They need help with different things at the different times. So it's not very often that they ask for help. Sometimes they get an email sent from the system. There's a ask a question button where they can just send a question, or if they're having trouble with the module, they can just press the button and ask whatever they need, or could just come on chat or whatever they want, just to get them to where they want. I mean, the whole goal of the program is to get them from where they are now, which usually is like they're making maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a month or $5,000 a month, and they want to get to 10,000, 20,000. There was one wanted to get to 75,000. So it's like, it's to get them from where they are to where they want to be, and that's the whole goal. And for that, I do whatever is necessary to get them there, because that's a commitment I make with them. When we talk, I say they want to be 20K. Okay, let's get you to 20K. And until they get to the 20K, my job isn't done. And that's it. That's how I see it.
And your typical, the time of this program takes how long? I mean, you've just told me actually it probably varies, I think.
Varies, yes, it varies. Some are slacking more, others not. It depends on life circumstances. So I have right now a client in Venezuela, and you know what's happening in Venezuela, right?
It's very tough, yeah.
So I mean, his focus was completely shifted from the course into his family, sorting out his family and the situation there, and he's not able to focus right now. And I talked with him about that, but well, he can come back and continue anytime he wants anyway, so it's not a problem. Yeah. But so it happens a lot. Like sometimes people have unexpected life circumstances and they have to take a break, then they get back onto it.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I've got the framework clear for everybody to understand. The last note I've got, we were at 4, which was where you're building your authority within the group. We've probably talked about it, but can you just formally sort of give me the last 2 steps so we make sure we've got them understood?
Okay, let me check here. Lead generation. Yeah. So the last steps are when you go on the chat and you want to know what to do on the chats, right? On the conversation with the client. So that's one module is just about that, how to close your first sales, basically. So how to approach them, or how to respond to them, what to do exactly, how to conduct a conversation, all the different small details about it. And there's also a technique I have which is called the quick response, and that's a nice one. It's very powerful.
Can you comment on that?
Yeah, the quick response is basically based on the momentum of the group. So if you see that someone just posted something 1 minute ago and you do a reply instantly, it means they're able to follow it up, get them on a chat straight away, like within a short amount of time, attract them into a chat, start the conversation, and move it up to the point of where you know already enough, and they might be, if they tell you like their problem is they need help with their productivity or organizing their business better or whatever it is, or with their processes, and it's something you can help, and say, oh, and they ask you what you do, and then you say, I help exactly with that problem you have. And that's when they ask you, oh, what can you do for me? Like, can you help me with this? And that's when you go back to, and when you catch that momentum from first comment into engagement, into chat, into coming into a conclusion of, can you help me with that? How much would it cost? Or what kind of package can you do? Then you pretty much can go from first contact into a sale within like an hour or less than that. So this is what I call the quick response, and it works really well. And you can do this in your own group or in different groups. So if you do this in your own group, when someone joins, right on the moment when someone joins, usually if you do a welcome message minutes later or hours later, you don't catch the momentum. But on that exact momentum, it's like Google calls it the micro moments. So it's like a micro moment where they just clicked to join your group. Their mind is already on the right frame set, on the frame to find out more about yourself, what you do, and all that. So they're ready, you know. So they're on that momentum, and you engage them straight away within a minute. They keep on the momentum because they reply straight away to you. You conduct them after 2 or 3 comments. It becomes like a quick conversation. They reply within a minute, and then on the group, inside the group, and then within that it jumps into a private message or into a call. Usually a private message first, and then you keep going from that, and you end up either on the call or continuing on the chat, the conversation. So it comes from start to end, all from that point, and that is extremely powerful because you get the person on the moment they're looking for help with what you offer.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. And it's like, what was it? I was reading something a while back where when people, they post something, and the people who make the first offer, who jump in first and respond to the problem first, are the people who get the attention, and normally people who get the sale. You know,
but more likely, yeah.
But yes, I mean, okay, that's a very, very interesting and powerful technique. Okay, so is that number 5 or is that number 6? Where have we got to?
This is number 5.
Okay, and number 6?
Number 6 is basically the part of managing the leads, prioritizing the leads, approaching for follow-up. So how do you approach for follow-up? Keeping track of the leads and the potential. So which ones have the most potential to sell? And building a routine, so your own routine about managing the pipeline. So you want to have a good routine that allows you to have whatever free time you want to have and spend your time effectively in managing all the stuff, and do that weekly. So that's basically what we cover on the last part of the module.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, having a system is really, really important. Otherwise, the whole thing breaks down, and you don't follow it up, and you lose. Yeah, and it unravels. I can see that. I can see it's quite a complex process, and if you don't keep on top of it, then it becomes a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Bruno, this has been absolutely fascinating, and I think what you're doing is very smart. I mean, one of the things I've noticed, and I am going to talk about LinkedIn now, is that talking to some of the experts on LinkedIn, what they say is all about engaging with people and talking to people and helping people, and not just coming on and saying, do you want to buy this, do you want to buy that, or posting a sale or anything. And so actually that's the mental mindset is exactly the same, and I find what you're saying is absolutely fascinating. And I think for any entrepreneur who is looking to develop leads almost anywhere, then having this approach rather than the endless guys sitting at telephones cold calling people and basically saying, oh, have you been in a car accident, and we can get you, have you got payment protection insurance or whatever it is, and all that sort of direct, oh God, go away. I can see it's very interesting. Bruno, where can people find out more about you, and how can they find out more about the program? We'll definitely have a lead to your webinar, because I think the webinar is very valuable for somebody who just wants to take a bit of time and to get an understanding of your process in a somewhat better organized manner than our very free-form conversation has gone. But where can people find out more about you?
You can go into the Facebook group, for example.
Mm-hmm. Which is?
So it's it's called, let's see the exact name, Evolution, generate leads on Facebook groups without advertising.
That's a mouthful. Evolution, generate leads on Facebook. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes. Okay, without advertising. Right. Okay, brilliant. Is that right? Is it Evolution or is it
Evolution?
Evolution. Yeah. Okay. And so okay, and that's presumably a closed group, but people can ask to join, and then
ask to join. Yes.
Yeah. Fine. Perfect. Okay.
We have 1,600 members right now, so I'm planning to grow it to about 5,000 next month.
And how are you going to do that?
Oh, that's another story.
So yeah, I mean, my online learning club is at over 1,000 members, but I really need to do some weeding out because I've got a lot of people doing what I call stupid posting in there, and I'm just going to start being rude to them until they get the message.
You don't need to be rude. I mean, usually you delete their posts if they're not good. You PM them, telling them don't do this kind of post. Yeah. Make sure it's on our group rules as well. Saying
I've got a very clear statement on the group rules, and it's been completely ignored and flouted. And about time I cracked the whip on that and made people follow the rules. Otherwise, it's a waste of time people being there. And
you have to be strict.
And the more people see rubbish, the more they post rubbish. So it's got to be. It's my fault. I mustn't tell my members off because I've not been policing it properly, and I'm going to have to get back in there and crack the whip a little bit because otherwise I might as well close the group, which would be a shame.
It's in my perspective, it's the responsibility of the admins of the group to keep the group in topic. Make sure the topic is respected. Make sure the group is clean for the members, and it's all like. And blaming the members is the last thing you should do ever.
Absolutely.
So if you have someone who's really disregarding and is disrespectful and is negative to the group, then you just remove them, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so used to this for doing it for a long time. I mean, it takes me 5 seconds. Look at it, either delete the post or remove them and move on. I don't waste my time looking through.
Yeah.
That's quite
okay. Well, we'll definitely have a link to the group. That's really great, and we'll have a link to your webinar so people can jump on that. And just so they understand with the webinar, basically you run it every hour, and so when it comes up, they'll just have to wait, and all they have to do is watch it. They don't have to do anything, and then there is an opportunity to take further steps at the end of it if they want to, and if they don't, they've got some useful information, then that's great. Been fascinating to talk to you. You've been really open and really informative. I think it's a lot of food for thought for any entrepreneur who has got a product or a service that they want to find new leads for, and I love what you're doing. I find it very exciting. So thank you for being an amazing guest on the Optimistic Entrepreneur podcast.
It's my pleasure.